Hey, welcome everybody to Friday Night at the Crib. It's open mic. I posted the link on the right-hand side in case anybody'd like to join us. Talk about VXP Weekend Part 2. Grimace?
What's up, everybody?
We could talk about the rehash of some TLCs and not a huge amount to talk about this week from what I could tell. But so if anybody'd like to bring new topics in or questions or things you'd like to discuss, feel free to follow that link. And if it's not working like it has in some weeks, let me know and I will send a different link. And I'll go ahead from left to right on your YouTube screen, introduce Magic Mike.
Happy VXP Friday.
Yeah. And Grimace.
I've already been introduced.
Yes, because you didn't turn off your YouTubes. And this is Hefe. So, I don't even, like I said, it's a really limited week.
Where do you start? Did anybody try the missiles in a BXP target yet?
I have not.
Well, I guess it's just the two of us. I guess in chat, maybe.
I don't know. One thing I did want to know, let everybody know as a public service announcement, in the main Kickside forum associated with VXP, it's been posted that it's been extended by 24 hours. From what I can tell from other posts by the moderators, it's only been extended by 1 hour. So instead of ending at 9 a.m. Kickside time tomorrow, it's going to end at 10 a.m. Kickside time tomorrow.
That's a huge.
They posted that it was going to be an extra 24 hours, and then, did I misunderstand that?
Well, I can screen share it. Let me go real quick, unless they changed in the last couple minutes.
I mean, that's like a huge difference. It's not like, we screwed up by like an hour. I mean, that's, maybe that's the difference between 1 day and 1 hour. You know what I'm saying? Like if they said, it's going to be 1 day, but they meant 1 hour. But if they said 24 hours,
even an hour, why would they mess with it?
Yeah. Well, because it started an hour and a half late before anything spawned.
Okay.
That's what there was no targets out. I don't know why they only extended it 1 hour. Originally, it was supposed to.
So I wonder though.
It was supposed to end at 9 a.m. on Saturday. 9 a.m. on Saturday was the end point, and as you see here, now it's 10 a.m. Unless they switched the day and made it 24 hours. Really, what's going on with that? But
you're going really bad robot occasionally there.
Okay.
Probably whenever you're clicking, that's probably what it was when you're going back and forth between your
screens, maybe.
That's really weird. Now, would they maybe mean that it's been extended for another day and an hour? So maybe that's what they meant by the 24 hours. So they're actually adding a whole nother day, and he didn't put the date in there.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, there's another one. There's another one where basically they're extending it an hour, as far as I can tell.
So, I mean, that's what I would expect. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't expect it to go a whole nother day.
Yeah. It's I don't know. But again, anybody feel free to join us. There's not, like I said, there's not a huge amount to talk about. I think George is going to come on a little bit later as far as trying to talk about potential things that are floating around as far as how to change the armor for PvP. I didn't really like any of the options, but so I'll wait for him to talk about them.
You mean with the MC2 plate?
Yeah.
In reference to the MC2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How they fix the balance associated with that.
Okay.
And they all seem to be about the same from the player's perspective. And but I'll let him talk about that when he gets on. And I don't know.
Did either of you guys watch Rampage Reports today?
No. Well, I wasn't
missed it.
home. I wasn't home.
So
He-
one
Go ahead.
little interesting tidbit of information that I didn't know about was that they have two different teams working on the game, and one of them is in Australia, and that's why they did the update at 4 p.m. instead of the usual 10 a.m. because it was when both groups would be, you know, in the office at the same time.
Interesting.
Okay.
I just-
and that could
yeah.
explain a lot of the disconnects in the game, because I do know that they have several offices in Australia, and then they have the San Francisco office in the U.S. But yeah, they have several cities in Australia.
Yeah, so I mean, we know how they communicate with us, so you know, one might think that they have some communication problems between the two different countries, you know, just talking back and forth.
Yeah, especially since they speak Australian over there.
I didn't mean it, you know, language-wise, but yeah.
I'm just kidding. I was trying to rile Toxic. He was, you know, he was trying to get on, but he's still having the problem where he's automatically on mute when he joins the show. So I'm not sure. Has anybody else tried to join and have a problem with that link? Let me know. Happened with this has happened with YouTube recently. So, alrighty. Anything else you wanted to? Any news? I forgot about it because it's, you know, he does it some weeks and doesn't do it other weeks.
He said we're gonna get a huge, I guess, information dump next week. So be looking forward to lots of information, and that basically, I guess they've put in the framework for whatever, you know, I guess the new targets, I forget what they're called now, that like SBBRs or SDBRs or something like that, or SRRBs. I don't remember what they are, but
this is the new dubs.
Yeah, the new dubs, but they have like a term for them. Subsector SSRB. Yeah, SSRB. And so I guess they put in the whole framework already, because he said they had a large whatever update this last time, but then the next week wouldn't be a large one. So I guess they're just gonna flip the switch and turn them on.
Okay.
So yeah, that's basically all it was. He even said there wasn't a whole lot going on this week. We're also going to have some new TLCs. I should have written them down. I figured one of you guys would have watched it and written it down. But we're going to have one to get the Prototype Seeker again, and then we're going to have one to get the Phoenix and the Gutspill Phoenix flag.
Okay.
So
well, the Prototype Seeker one will be interesting, I guess, because I'm assuming it's going to come with tokens.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
And it would be great if it had some more dock space included, you know.
Yeah, it is interesting because, you know, if you don't need a full fleet of all of these, they only leave release enough information to scare us. And I think that's what they've done with the dubs so far. And historically, release all the, you know, some little bits of information, that's enough to scare us. And then historically, the release was okay. It wasn't as bad as what we feared. But more recently, you know, starting with the dragons and the expeditions with the chameleons and this raid, what's going on with PvP? Because before, you sort of had a growing confidence that they knew what they were doing and they were going to implement it. But after the FM grew up, after the FM,
you're roboting really bad.
Okay, I'm not sure what's the refresh, but Yeah, at this point, I don't know that we have a lot of faith that they'll roll out the dubs correctly. Well, let me refresh, and I'll be back in a minute. So somebody else is going to need to talk.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in them doing this without any kind of problems, even though they apparently put in all the framework uh, this week and are doing minor things to get it going next week. I'm sure most of us by now kind of think it's going to be screwed up. So, Mike, what are you doing now?
Listen to Rampage.
Oh. All right, Hefe, let's give it a shot.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just seeing if you were still roboting or not.
We will see. So it's there was no more information as far as details associated with what we should expect for the dubs than we got previously. Just that most of the background mechanics have been put in that update from earlier this week.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I don't even know if he came out and said it like that, but he kind of did. So I kind of inferred like, okay, well they put in all the framework and they may have to tweak a couple little things here and there or whatever. They also had a problem with the TLC for the Proto Seeker. So it may have actually been the problem and not the new dubs. But they wanted to release it, I guess, at the same time so people wouldn't be complaining, well, we don't even have any ships. The people that didn't get the Proto Seeker before or whatever, they can't complain that they don't, they didn't have a chance to get the ship or whatever. So.
And did you catch they're going to start out with the two corners are going to be siege and skirmish?
Yeah, and
Yes.
they said that last time about we get the new Proto Citadel and
For a Centurion.
Oh yeah, Centurion, not Citadel, and they're 7.5 tier holes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and he keeps saying you're gonna want to have those, especially if you try to solo. He kept kind of saying that.
Yeah, and with the history of what we're seeing, it's not good. As far as even if you build them, I don't think you're going to be able to do them as efficiently as you're going to be able to do the dubs or things historically, based on what we've seen with the FM and the raid. And I don't understand what they're making the chores very expensive at this point, and these many spend all these time building the Inferno Dragons. A lot of people are spending hours on each target. I think that's because we spent a lot of our build time before they actually fully unleashed them on us. So our builds were based on what we were provided originally. And so, from what I've seen, the average person's taking, an hour and a half to 2.5 hours of damage per 117. And we think, I don't know, we'd have to, I guess speculate, but do we think they're going to do anything different with these new the subsector resource bases?
We could hope, but it doesn't look good. Everything they've been doing lately, you're pretty much required to take some sort of damage. So I would expect that.
Yeah, and last week I was hoping he'd come on this week because Dr. Death said he was able to auto. The 117s for an hour and a half. He was taking more damage driving them. George is able to replicate that. I tried it. I took 6.5 hours of damage trying to auto with them from 3 o'clock. So It would be nice if you came on. That way we could figure out, or if George comes on later, try to figure out what's in the build, because I came in directly from 3 o'clock. There must be something very special about the builds that are creating this, because I'm taking more than 4 hours more damage as opposed to taking less damage.
Yeah, I did it last week during the show. I think I took like 2.5 hours of damage twice, and I was like, hey, I'm cool with that. Whatever, my fleet's not just optimized or whatever, but I'll take that. And then I did it again. I yanked out the Savage Kodiak just to see if that made a difference either way. And of course, I think it was like almost 5 hours of damage on that one. And then I did it again. I put the Savage Kodiak back in, repaired the fleet, went back in again, and I took it was just over 3.5 hours damage.
Yeah, Kyle. I'm going to talk to Kyle. You get an hour and 4 minutes on auto. What do you get when you drive them? That would be interesting to me. And yeah, I had Alan. Yeah, when I came in at 3, my fleet split as well. That's why I took so much damage. I had 2 of them that were almost dead. One of them was half dead, and 2 of them that were doing okay, and only took like 1/8 damage or less. But yeah. Okay. And you're coming in at 3 o'clock, Kyle? You're taking half the damage when you don't drive. But yeah, if you want to come on and share your builds, because I think it's either got to be something about the build or where you're coming in. And as far as you coming in around 145, okay. Maybe I'll try at 145. Once I don't have anything else to repair, because it's. I didn't like the 6.5 hours of repair.
One of the ones that I did on the first day, where I took 2.5 hours, I did one of those at 3 o'clock, like Dr. Death said, and I did one of them at 9 o'clock, and they got almost the exact same damage.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking at 3 o'clock, because you're going right into the middle of a wall. I was thinking, either like 145 or closer to like 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock. So you're coming up along a wall as opposed to going perpendicular to the wall. Therefore, right. Your ships would be less likely to split.
Right. I agree.
So, yeah, it'd be nice to figure that one out at some point. And here's the Kyle's figure. Right?
I was just going to say, Dr. Death said don't go in, but I was very tempted to just go in and watch on a few of the hits and see kind of what they're doing. But he was saying he was taking more damage when he would go in to watch. But who knows? Yeah, I was kind of hoping he was going to come on today too, because I wanted to see his build and see if I could replicate what he's doing.
Yeah, George should be coming on a little bit later, and he's able to get it down to an hour and a half. I'm curious if Kyle wants to come on, and I'm curious to see, he's got it down to an hour and 4 minutes. So on his best one, but because that's interesting. Then it's not quite as bad as what we've seen. Because then you could run through basically do on the first weekend you might take 2 nights of repairs, but the rest of the time it would just be 1 night of repairs and out of them.
Yeah.
So, Mike, did you ever figure out your issue with the Katie's?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I must have hit a button.
Okay. Alrighty. Glad to hear that.
Twice since then, and it worked pretty good. I'm trying to figure out how much damage it takes, but they're zombied, or it's zombied. So,
Okay.
it's kind of pretty dead.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a fear that they would nerf the Cadies between the last raid and this raid for the ASEC. And Mike had some regularities when he first tried to go in there, and it doesn't appear that they've done anything substantial. No guarantees that these targets will look like the targets we see in the next raid, but so far that doesn't appear that they've changed anything major. So, well, nobody wants to come on. Are you really all that afraid of Mike?
I'm really not. I'm just a little puppy.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'm sort of out of topics personally.
I was gonna say we've got draws today because there's just not much to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, PvP is still broken. We've explained that, several times. I didn't feel like I needed to explain it a third or fourth time on the show. We haven't seen anything from them directly on how they plan to fix it, but I don't know. And we're seeing a lot of the same TLCs and VXP.
Did you talk about TLCs at all?
No.
I know
If you
they're
want to talk about them,
I know they're redundant for a lot of people, but if you got dragons and you're going to do the Skyfire Elite, I mean, you can almost walk that TLC.
Yeah,
if you're needing Skyfire tokens or want to get, I think, don't they have some generics?
That's in the other camp, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, there's that one of them has generic skirmish.
That's in the hidden depths.
Hey, Cuddle, how are you doing?
Not too bad. How are you all doing?
Okay. How's your week been?
Not too bad, honestly. The FM is, well, a chore, so what can you do to get around that? I'm still awaiting you guys who are still trying to build a fleet for the 117s to come up with a really good build. I am down in the camp where I'm just autoing 589s at once, waiting for you all to figure it out.
What's your icebreakers look like, Cuddle?
They're R5. Pretty much, they should be almost top of the line, I guess.
Because I've been doing 111s with an icebreaker build for sometimes, believe it or not, 0 damage.
I believe you, but sending one dragon into an 89.
Oh, that's autoing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, on full auto. I can watch my Netflix at the same time. And if anybody snipes one of my dragons, all they catch is one dragon, and the rest of my dragons run home.
Yep. Okay. I get where you're going. I just...
I really want you guys to figure out the 117s because I feel bad doing these 89s this way.
Is it faster than doing the... I guess it's faster than doing the 111s. Okay.
I get 3.7 million in 1 hour.
Okay. That's not bad.
And about 10 hours of repair. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty brutal, but...
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason I brought up the icebreaker thing is there was somebody in my sector that was doing the same thing with the single dragon in each 89, and I just asked him, if he had a good icebreaker fleet, because they actually go pretty quick. I mean, I won't lie, this is not my build. I acquired it, but I did do a refit, and it's like, Jesus, it's great. All you got to do is drive around in a circle, and you're done. And it's next to no damage. And if you do happen to take a hit, I've only had to go back to the base one time to break it down to do repair.
Yeah, I'm telling the lower levels of my alliance to build icebreakers for the FM at the moment. Mainly because it's been difficult to get them dragons and enough dragon tokens to actually do anything.
And dragons do kind of suck in the FM. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know, lots of these builds that I see, they want to have a savage. Even I don't have a savage. I mean, I have the blueprint, but
I built one a long, long time ago, and I'm never finished it, and I'm now glad I have it.
yeah, I wish I had built it a long, long time ago because I don't want to do it now.
It's got an engine on it and a countermeasure. That's it.
And this dragon flagship that shows up in July, it better be sweet.
Yeah, it better do something with the little blue boogers.
So have you tried running your Manticore raid fleet through the VXP token, VXP targets?
I will say no, I have not yet.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that before the show, and at some point, I'm sure we will. I want to see if countermeasures are working in them, because last time, at least my sprints were not firing at all in the 105s.
See, I have heard so much stuff about countermeasures, and so much of it contradicts itself. Like, I have heard people swear by the sprints. I've heard people say that sprints don't work. I've people say that switchblades work. I've seen people say that switchblades don't.
Yeah.
I really...
Well, I mean, for the raid, I had Phalanx 4s. They were terrible. I switched to sprints. They still weren't great, but they did way better than the Phalanx 4s did.
Yeah, my whole fleet has got Phalanx 4s, except one has a switchblade on it.
But the last 105s that we got, I had 2 Manticores that had sprints on them, but they didn't have any kind of range, extending special on there. But they were still well within range where they should have shot at something, and they never fired once. So I wanted to see if adding that, a range special on there and then running them in there, if they're going to fire or not.
See, this is one of the things I'm hoping will shake out of this VXP weekend, is we'll get a better, clear picture of the countermeasures.
And I mean, the hard part is, like, this target is still a little bit different from the raid targets. It's not like an exact copy, it doesn't seem like. So one thing might work in these and then not work in the raid, and vice versa.
Yeah. You're talking counters? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they keep on changing the counter rules, which I don't think is good as far as strategy goes. Because they started doing that with unless you just said that. When they changed them with the last raid cycle, where this works on this and that works on that, which doesn't help players progress unless they explain it beforehand, if there is special rules this time around.
Yeah, and that was part of the confusion before, is typically you don't want to run Phalanx 4s and something like a sprint on the same hull. But because in that raid there were different turrets that were countered by different things, you could run them on the same hull.
Yeah.
And so, some people go, well, oh yeah, I can put those on the same ship and they'll work fine. And then they do it for this raid and it may not be as effective.
Yeah, and has anybody noticed if the invisible scatter guns are counterable at all?
No, but they have a very small spread. So if you're moving quickly, you should be able to just drive by it. It's a very small spread.
Yeah, I've noticed that in the raid. If I rode perpendicular to the ships, I was able to avoid taking any damage, and the damage didn't really seem to be that much. Even if I sat still, it was because maybe I was only screwing up every once in a while, and be like I would have. Because I generally ended up with a damage profile that looked like 25 minutes on one ship and then 4 minutes on the rest of the ships when I was doing the ASET targets.
I still think those were put on there to keep you from prepping for people, because you could kill all the other ships, you could kill the turrets and leave the 3 platform ships, and then someone else could come in and hit, and their ships typically probably wouldn't be nearly as good, and if they got hit by one of those projectiles, they're right on the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's on all the ships.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah, okay. I get what you're saying. I mean, the one to probably leave would be that, at least, I forget what's 83, I forget the number, the one interceptor that's just chugs along and doesn't pay attention to you. And that one can be sniped by a lot of ships.
Yeah, it can be outranged by missiles, for sure.
So, hey, Father George, how are you doing?
Evening, everybody. How y'all doing?
What's up, George?
Hey, man.
You guys having fun?
Blast.
Nothing but.
Yeah. Well, you know, Mike sometimes has his own party over there. So, you know.
Usually, there's always a party going on here.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I'll pass.
Mm-hmm. Something that we were talking about earlier, I think probably before you were listening, was Dr. Death was hitting the 117s for an hour and a half of damage, autoing. Kyle and YouTube chats, the best he's gotten is an hour and 4 minutes on auto. I'm hitting targets for like between 2 and 2.5 hours when I drive. Then I'm taking 6.5 hours when I try to auto them. But you were having similar luck to what Dr. Death was having. We're right around an hour and a half, right?
No, I was doing a little bit worse. I think I was doing like an hour and 45, somewhere around there. Hour 45, hour 50, something like that. And it's kind of weird because most of the time I'll get the same thing. I started testing different entry points, and if I go up a little bit more to like 2 o'clock, I'll end up taking about 2 to 2.5 hours. I tried like 10 o'clock to try and get onto one of the groups of turrets so I wouldn't split, because I'm assuming they're splitting. I had some of the guys in the alliance were checking out the battle, and it's weird because when they watch the battle, I'll take more damage. So, you know, when Glenn said that don't go into it, that really is, it's one of those, because there are instances in the past where some targets you did better if you didn't propagate the map, and others you did worse. So
it may mean like sure. until you propagate the map, maybe certain things aren't showing up.
Yeah, or the pathing, the AI pathing is different or something. I'm not sure what it is. And the thing is it was up until today, it was actually fairly consistent. No matter, you know, if I tried the 10 o'clock entry, it was always around, you know, the 2. Well, actually, I have one that I haven't repaired yet. It was 2 hours 12 minutes.
Okay. Have you tried the difference between using the app?
Yeah, no, I did do one in the app, and I will not do it again because I actually it was taking a long time, and I was like, what the hell's going on? So I went onto the game on the laptop, and I wanted to see where the entry point was. The entry point was dead at 6 o'clock, and I took like 3 hours and 45 minutes of damage. I was like, no, I'm not doing that shit again. Okay. So yeah, no, I'm not. And that, you know, the other thing is, I don't know. I didn't actually notice where, in relation to my base, the fleet had gone. So I don't know if that was just where the 117 was, and it happened to go in at 6 or what. But I got a free test at 6, and that was way more damage. So
okay, yeah. Candy Apple said if he comes in at 3 o'clock, he takes an hour and a half. If anybody spectates him, it goes up to 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah, see, and I think it's just something with the map propagating that something goes on. I don't know if maybe it's if you don't go in, they don't split. I'm not sure. He's actually using the Molotov Maiden. I was using the Steelhead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. Maybe I should try one of those. But anyway, so yeah, that one's interesting. I tried a I tried autoing one of the VXP targets with my Manticore fleet because I didn't go to missiles. I just stayed with the scatterguns, and I'm building my Cadies, and that took 2 hours and 10 minutes, I think,
Ick.
on auto. Which during raid is an hour, but the thing is, these things are going to end up being the map targets, and that is just not acceptable for an auto hull.
It's not.
You know, it's
Did you-
just not. That was with no crew or anything.
Did you watch it by chance, or did you just go in and auto?
Yeah, I watched it because I know because last month when I was testing them, it would split if you didn't stack it off to the left first and wait a little bit for the fleet up above to move. You ended up splitting right at the beginning, splitting again later on, and then running into like one of the clouds or something. And I was like, no, so I stacked off to the left a little bit, just enough to stack them, and then I waited for the second big hull to move up just a little bit more, and that way it started going where I wanted it to go.
Are you running countermeasures?
Yeah, and actually the phalanxes were not fucking firing.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I was talking about right before you came on. Last time the 105s came out, I have sprints now on mine. The sprints were not firing, but it was two of my builds that I was still in the middle of building, and they did not have a countermeasure range extender of any kind on there. So I didn't know if that was the issue, but I mean, they were in, I would park them, so they should have been shooting at something at some point, and they would never fire. So I was kind of curious if they're firing at all in these targets or not.
I didn't see them firing. I mean, I actually wasn't paying attention if they were firing at the big missile one, but I know from the Savage was because it was right at the end when I was like, hey, I'm not seeing the phalanx firing? And it took me the whole damn target to notice that because I was kind of like half watching, half trying to get my headset and all that other crap. And yeah, I wasn't particularly thrilled with that. That was troubling.
Now I kind of want to take one in there and see if it fires or not, because I've got my specials on there now.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, I just there's a lot of wonky stuff going around, and and then the PvP thing. Are you guys like in the middle of something, or can I bring up something?
Well,
Sorry,
Cuttlefish had a quick question that was related to what we were talking about. Then let's move on to PvP afterwards. But Cuddle, you want to ask that?
Sure, very very quickly. Off of the V2Hs and the Savage Kodiak and the VXP targets, they fire off a rapid fire cryo missile that leaves an ice patch on the ground. What do you all think that cryo patch actually does?
The cryo patch itself is just a slowdown field.
It doesn't have any debuff effect. Nope. You're positive.
Positive.
All right. Then.
The missile damage itself, on the other hand, that's another story. But the cryo field itself is just a slowdown field.
Okay.
Because the reason I'm asking is because there are other things that put down cryo fields that have debuff effects as well as the slow.
Yep.
Okay.
That one I specifically asked several times actually about, and I am assured it is just a slowdown field.
Thank you very much.
So a combat speed slowdown.
Yes, which you actually notice really bad if you bring in something other than like manticores in that target. I actually, what did I try? I tried hydras one time. Was it the hydras? And man, those things just dead near stopped. I was like, what the hell? So that sucked.
Because the other thing I want is a larger question is it deals with PvP, but we don't need to address this now because you're going to talk about something else associated with PvP. But in your base, how do all of those slow down, the fields, the projectiles that don't produce fields, such as your lockdown rockets or your Achilles missiles, your glacials, your Wendigos, your Sea-Web fields, how do those all interact? Are they constantly just adding up? or is
You know,
it best?
I think some of them, and it's really, that would be, I actually wanted to sit down and actually puzzle through that because some of them are stacks, some of them are a direct effect, some of them are area of effects. I mean, there's so many different things going on now. And I'm not even sure how they stack between the different types either. Like within the same type, you know, I could maybe go, okay, well, it's got to be a multiplicative stack because you can't ever get, you know, you're not going to be able to just stop something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But then if you have one that's doing, you know, 50, another one that's doing 75, another one that's doing 30, how is that one stack? I mean, I'm going to presume it's multiplicative because I don't see anything dead stopping in my base, but I have seen things slow to a very slow crawl. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, you know,
Yeah, you know, when I see that in my base, it's usually they're usually in combination of a glacial field, a sea web, and they're getting fired out by lockdowns. And then they get really feeble and old and barely move at that point in time. But yeah, I don't know the mechanic behind it personally. You know, but it would make sense that the different types of the projectile effects versus the field effects, you know, that maybe they add together differently from at least from what I've seen. But it'd be nice if they somehow explain that a little bit to us at some point.
yep, it would be.
Yeah.
Because
So
I know a bunch of people run, like I run a bunch of Cannibal Wendigos, and that one it's a 5 stack and it's 30%. Well, you're certainly not getting 150% slowdown, right? Or are you? Like, I don't know. It's more stats that as the game has gotten more complex, we really, really need some more transparency in this game. I mean, we really do, because a lot of the stuff, in order to make good sound decisions and strategic decisions, you have to understand what's going on. And in the past, you know, back in the day, it's like, okay, throw on some S mortars on a, you know, on a floating fortress, and you know, have at. And now it's not that simple, not even close to that simple. So, yeah, we would need to know a lot of the mechanical workings, and unfortunately, I don't see an easy venue to actually get that information, because you kind of do need it, you know. I mean,
and there's a potential that they don't know.
or it's not working like they intend, and they don't know until we test it. I mean, the perfect example, and this is a great segue if you want, you know, PvP with the turret stacking. I mean, you know, when the whole group thing came out first,
talking about the tier 7
group, the group stack. You know, I made a couple of inquiries, and I was initially told that it was an additive stack. And apparently that was the way that it was supposed to work. That was the intent. That was how it was intended. But when tested, because Templar tested a bunch of it for us, it was not. It was multiplicative instead. And I'm like, oh, okay, now there's a problem here. And looking forward, I could see that was going to be an issue. And I said something back then, and I've been saying it for months. And you know, it's come to a head now, because it's gotten to the point where, you know, base hitting is binary by itself right now, without even taking into account the tier 7 turret stuff. But add that into it, and it's exacerbated that to an extreme now, where you can't if your base is set up a certain way, you're not getting in. I mean, I was told the other day, I didn't even realize that I had forgotten my damn base guard out, and I got hit like 3 times, and they didn't even make it to the first turn. And you know, that's kind of shitty. You don't want that kind of an imbalance, you know? And so like there's two concurrent problems right now with PvP. One is that it's very binary, and two, and this is the latter, but the thing that exacerbates the first is the turret stack. And you know, I was playing with the numbers for a couple weeks now. I think I've been saying that, you know, it looks on paper that they tuned the armor for the turret stack to be additive. So my initial reaction was, okay, well, if you can't fix that, then just fix the armor, right? And I've been talking with a couple people over the course of the last few weeks, and I think there's three. The simplest three with the least intrusive results to the community and builds and all that stuff is it's going to be one of three things. Either you buff the armor, which may have a rolling effect going forward because you're going to have to now tune and keep that in mind that that armor is now more powerful than you had intended initially. You can make the stacks additive, which I don't know if they can because otherwise they would have done that initially, right? But in that case, you have to rethink your entire base guard or your base setup because now you can't just rely on 2 turrets to kill everything, which, is kind of fair, I guess. And then the third option is if they can't figure out how to do it additively and they do it multiplicatively, to get the same end result of the 200% stack, you have to bring it down to a 15% stacking bonus per turret, which would, in theory, make the first half of that, like as you're getting them, if you don't have all 8, the first few are going to be weaker than if it was an additive stack. So,
George, let me stop you here
mm-hmm.
a second. You haven't really introduced what they think is balanced and what their endpoint is by making these changes. Like,
that's why I'm focusing on just the turrets right now, because the real problem beneath that is the fact that it really still isn't all that balanced, because you're going to end up going back to death by 1,000 cuts or something, because it's still going to be very binary in terms of base hitting. It just won't be as bad. You'll actually be able to at least hit some bases at the top end instead of nothing.
But then
the other thing is if this isn't corrected, it's going to eventually trickle down into the mid and low levels as well, because once you start getting a couple of the turrets and the fire supports on it and all this other stuff, you're going to be keeping out everybody, and there's not going to be any base hitting.
Do you understand what their goal? I mean, because we haven't had a lot of communication from Kixeye. Do you understand what their goal is at this point, as far as what the basic hitting experience is supposed to look like? We realize that they've messed some things up here, obviously. But what is it supposed to look? What is it?
I don't know. I haven't really discussed too much of this with them. This is more of I've been playing with the numbers for. Like, I've been trying to figure out what the hell, because, when Bounty started and then the week before we were all like, oh, we're not doing Bounty. And so I started playing with this stuff for a little bit whenever I had some free time. And I'm trying to figure out a good solution because I don't want them to come in and knee-jerk react and do something like come up with a new armor that's going to be, super buff, and then things are going to walk bases, and then it's going to throw everything into, like, they gotta tread lightly. And I'm trying to, what I'd like to do, and like what I'd like to really convince them, is to find the underlying issue, find what broke, what they fucked up, fix that first, and then look at PvP overall and figure out what the hell the end game is. Because I don't know that they actually even know. I've not heard anything for a definitive, hey, this is what we want it to look like. I'm just assuming that since we were at a death by 1,000 cuts for most of the year, that's kind of the idea right now. But that's a presumption on my part.
Yeah, because it'd be nice if they communicated that. I mean, as far as what they expect base hitting to look like and what the balance is supposed to look like. Because, like I said, and like you said and I've said, I don't think we've seen that. I think everybody can vote for. I think the next step is super duper over damage is really the solution.
Well, if they had left over damage the way it was, I think it might have helped them. The problem is in that instance, the community had a knee-jerk reaction, right? Because we presumed that the number they showed us was the number, and it really wasn't, which kind of sucks, and it goes back to communication.
Yeah. I was sort of joking, but yeah.
But that, it actually, and that's the sad part, is it's a viable actual answer, and
mm-hmm.
They buffed that one too. I mean, I think part of the reason why they messed that one up is because they didn't say anything. They were just like, hey, bounties tomorrow, surprise, bitches, we got over damage, and then nothing, no follow up. And you know, I would like what I'd like to do, because what I'd like to see, the best thing I think would be is, you know, he does the Rampages reports. Bring a dev in once in a while. Bring a dev in once a week, or maybe once a month, and have like a one-on-one discussion. And don't answer any of the damn questions. Just freaking let us know shit. You know what I mean? Like, use that as a platform to let the community know what the fuck is going on, because you have a platform and people are watching that thing. Use it, if you're allowed to. And that's the other catch. We have no idea what, if he's allowed to even bring that up to see if he can bring somebody on. But I would love to see that, because, he sees the shit in the forums. The devs, I don't even know if they go to the forums, so he can bring things that he finds there, or the mods bring to him, and he can ask and see what direction we're supposed to be going at, because fuck all, we don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and also on the, Rampage reports, I think they should, instead of like the OraCap, he should have, I think he should only say really cool 3 times per show. It's only like a 5 or 6 minute show. It seems like he says it more than appropriate, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a personal thing. I mean,
well, I'd rather have it explained than told it's really cool, to be honest. Oh yeah. Brum, how are you doing?
Good. How's everybody?
Good. But actually, now that we have a good amount of people on the panel, of those 3 options, right? What would you guys like to see? And then the secondary question is, what do you think the community's reaction would be if they tried to fix it, like fix the actual base problem with the group stacking?
I wasn't here for the conversation, so I really can't answer.
Yeah, as far as, one is make them additive. One is to make them additive. The other one is to change the percentages to make them, the multiplicative changes add up to what happens if they were additive, or fix the armor to come up with the outcome that we wanted, which was, that's what I was asking you earlier. What is the, and so the baseline is death by 1,000 cuts with 2 MC1s and 2 MC2s, 3 MC1s.
I'm presuming 2 2s and 1 or 2 1s, maybe 2 1s. I don't know. I'm see if I can pull up I don't know if I saved my damn spreadsheet when I was messing with that, because I was messing with deflections and everything too. Because it looks like if you did, oh hell, if I could scroll down to where the hell I put it. If you did, let me see. So if you did 2 and 2, it gets to, let me see, what is this? So 2 and 1, you would be able to offset. It would look like the hull that has the deflection, like the MSC would not die to the executioners, but it would get a hurting on from the howitzers. So, and the problem with that then, of course, is it goes back to the binary nature of base hitting, because you're not going to be able to outrange these turrets. So if you're trying to get in and these turrets are firing at you, at some point, you're not going to be able to have one or the other tank, because the other turret's going to kill you. So you can't even do that. Whereas in the past, you could have something go in front, tank the damage while you're sneaking other ships behind it, right? You can't do that now like this with this setup, because it's still very binary. Either you're dying from something or you're not. And
go
ahead.
The answer, George, is the player base that is already exceptionally raw and sore from this whole PvP thing would go ballistic at any of these changes. Either you're mucking with our turrets and you're making it so that the people whose bases were completely uncrackable before are now getting cracked, and they're going to be upset. If you don't change it enough, then the Bane PvP fleets won't be able to get in and smash the bases, and they're not going to be happy. I'm hoping I don't actually see a really good answer to this. Maybe put out some radioactive turrets and just melt all these old PvP ships and move on, and just never get back to ballistic and missile ever again.
I mean, a hard reset would be good, but I don't think they got the balls to do that. I mean,
Uh,
I know right now on the upper end, we're not hitting upper end bases. I mean, it's just not happening.
No.
And everybody up there is upset about it. On the
I
other end, the players that don't have all the stuff, they're getting leveled already anyway.
I just don't understand why Kixeye decided to put out 8 of these ballistic turrets and 6 of the ballistic turrets and 8 of the missile turrets all in one block. I expected like 2 ballistic turrets, 2 radioactive turrets,
Yep.
and then to spread this transition over a longer period of time. So now that they've pushed it all into ballistic and missile, what can you do? Do you realize how mad people will be if they put out an MC3 plate?
I mean, but that's what that might be the solution, because the solution that I dislike the most, or trust the least, is now they try to convert everything from multiplicative over to additive, because they will probably do it across the game.
Right.
And everybody's built everything based on it being multiplicative, even though it shows additive. And that would just cause a complete shitstorm, because I don't trust them to execute that properly.
See, I'm leaning towards that going to a 15% one, because it'll come out with just like, I think it's just a hair more damage than 200%. But I mean, it will nerf the turrets, but it also will allow base hitting again. I don't know that it's going to really matter at the mid or lower levels, because they're already getting just borked. You know what I mean? It's not going to change anything there. But the upper bases are actually going to hopefully at least be able to get hit. I don't know if you'll be able to get in. I mean, like I said, it still does not fix the binary nature of PvP base hitting right now, because it's not like you can take an MSC and then run like 3 onslaughts behind it to try and get in and take out the island. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? There's no creative options to do it. I mean, the creative options are like, doing what Ewok did, throw Valiant in there with some crazy range, and then you do a super splash build on your sloths with old ass tech, and just hope that you can sit there long enough to take out everything. I'm not happy with where PvP is right now, and the problem is it's been compounded and compounded through the entire year, on top of what happened last year. So now we're in a shit stop, or in a shit area, and how do you get out of this? I mean, the best option, I think, is a hard reset, but everyone will flip out on that on both sides. So
that would take some stones.
But
yeah, it would take some stones.
Am I not mistaken that everybody's flipping out over everything already, because you can't hit a base, or you can't,
That's the upper end players. I'm covering everybody here.
Oh, you can hit bases. You just can't hit top end bases.
Yeah, we can hit I can go and hit a baby seal all day long. I mean, but I could do that before without what I have. I mean, I can send my rages in and take out half of these.
So where we're at right now is you go hit those bases. Eventually, you're going to drive them away, if that's the only bases that can be hit, because they don't stand a chance in hell of defending until they get all the turrets.
Right.
If they have the patience to stay along.
Which is not going to change if they actually correct the turrets to do the damage that was intended. The problem then, though, I think the problem is the turret stack has made the binary nature of base hitting like 10 times worse, because now it's just so fucking obvious. And it's a little frustrating, because they were told about this. I mean, hell, I wrote a damn article pointing it out. It's just I don't know. It's really frustrating, because now we're at a point where it's like, okay, look, we can't even talk about what the real issue is for PvP, because this is so fucked up. So now we're all concentrating on how to fix the turret thing, right? And we still are going to have a huge discussion afterward about fixing PvP in general. So this isn't even like fixing PvP. This is just like the first step, so we can discuss fixing PvP. Because right now, we can't even see how things act in the base because this is so broken. You can't even get down the channel to try a base. You know,
and we have another little. We have the raid coming up in 2 weeks. In that raid, there will be 2 new turrets, and some other turret, and some of the older turrets, so other people can catch up. But there will be 2 new turrets. There has been every single raid going back.
I don't know that they'll, until they figure this out, I don't know that they're going to release any more new turrets.
I bet you we're going to get 2 radioactive ones. That's my guess. Pure tinfoil hat, grain of salt, and all that.
I mean, maybe that might be what was intended, but I mean, we also were intended to have those 2 ballistic ones too, and those got postponed.
True.
You know, so I like I said, I don't know that they want to exacerbate this any further. I certainly wouldn't want to. I mean, I wouldn't want to throw any more gas on this fucking fire because holy shit. But the catch is this has got to get fixed. Like at the very least, this has to get fixed so we can actually see what's wrong with PvP. Because right now we can't even see what the fuck is wrong.
Well, it's not going to be a popular thought, I don't think. But right now, they need to stop everything until PvP is fixed. And they will never do that. But half your game is broke, and you're alienating your highest levels. And I know you're talking about doing it for everybody. Eventually, it will be for everybody. But if you lose your revenue stream, you might as well shut the game down.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a business, man. They're not going to stop. There's no way in hell they're going to put just a static position in the game. The game is never going to go static, ever.
I'm not talking about permanence, George.
I understand
You seem to think that when I
No,
talk...
I didn't say that.
George, let me finish my goddamn statement. Please. For once, would you shut the fuck up?
Go for it.
I'll show you how I go for it.
Alrighty then.
Well, finish.
He's gone.
He left.
No one said we're going to make the game static forever. They're just not going to make it static at all. It's impossible. You wouldn't make any money. They'd be out of business end of the week.
This PvP thing also is overshadowing another problem, which is that our raid fleets aren't actually that good. I'm finding these manticores to be exceptionally difficult to get working in these targets.
Are you doing scatter or missile?
I'm still doing scatters.
Yeah, see, I'm doing scatters too, and I think the scatter is just a big fail for an auto hull. I mean, I love the auto hull, I really do. That's my favorite damn hull, but holy shit, it sucks.
But it's a 6-day refit per hull for me to convert them over to missiles, and so frustrating.
And the thing is I'm afraid to start the conversion. I'm gonna end up, after the Katie's is done, I'm gonna end up building another fleet because I'm afraid to be stuck with only half a fleet for the next raid, which really sucks.
Yes, me too. And remember, we're getting the Proto Centurion in this raid. And if we want to get that, we're going to have to build those too. And that I won't be able to do it if I'm converting to missiles, because my dock will be completely occupied for the entire month. And that'll put me behind on the Proto Centurions.
By the way, I went in and did a 105 to test my sprints, and they do not fire against the ships, but they do fire against the turret missiles.
You got to be shitting me.
What?
So did they set them up where it's like last raid where like the
That's what I'm wondering.
That's
So
bullshit.
if someone has Phalanx 4, go in and test against the ships and the turrets and see if they fire.
I have all Phalanx 4, and one of them has a switchblade on it. So all the rest are Phalanx 4s. I can try.
Yeah, so you can just go in and I would just take one ship in, and I mean, as long as it can kill, a ship or two, and go up against a Kodiak, and then run up over there by the one of the turret ships, and it'll fire at you and see if it takes any of those out. but my sprints did not fire once at the missiles from the ships until I got up there by the turrets, and then they were taking those out.
Okay.
I'm curious now. I'm gonna go see. Like, I'm this fleet's still damaged, but I'm gonna go in one and see what happens. Because now I'm really curious.
I'd also like to know if the switchblades are working.
I don't got any of those on any of mine.
Yeah, so I'll put them one on just to see.
Yeah, because the switchblades in theory might work, especially the buffs they give the ship, and with the special. But
Well, with
I
the
don't know why
special, go ahead.
adding the multi-shot, special adds the multi-shot.
I'd have to go in with a Makara because that's what I got it on.
Yeah, I mean, it should go by the numbers with the special on and everything. It should go phalanx and then switchblade and then sprint. Is how it should work. And we're getting so many conflicting damn reports now. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on.
Right, there is no special in the game which adds accuracy to countermeasures, i.e. sprints or tridents. So how are they shooting down anything compared to my phalanxes, which are almost at about 100% accuracy?
All right, so the Frostburn gets my phalanxes shoot at the missiles from the Frostburn. Let's see what it does to the Kodiaks. Oh.
Well, didn't they say none
Well,
of the
that's
Kodiaks
interesting.
were counterable?
No, just that special one.
Oh, okay.
So on the Kodiaks, it looked like it was only doing like about 2. It was trying 2 out of each group of missiles.
But it's firing, so that's a good sign.
Firing, but
Kind
only
It doesn't have to reload to keep up with it.
No, I have 3 phalanxes on here. It should be able to shoot at each group fully. It's shooting just like 2 out of each group of missiles that come out of the Kodiak.
So we're assuming the missiles are the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's shooting. What I'm saying is the Kodiak may have
So,
two
yeah,
different
see-
kinds of missiles with 2 different reloads on them. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm sitting underneath this turret one, and I'm killing maybe 1 out of 3 tops.
But it's firing at them.
Yeah.
So that's really odd because sprints would not fire at a single missile.
Oh, hot damn! All right, I think I know what's going on. So after I fired at the big ship's missiles, my phalanxes aren't firing now on anything on the Kodiaks or the whatchamacallit thingies. Oh, that's fucking weird.
So is there something which is turning them off?
I don't know. That's
Is-
weird.
Is there a down arrow on your ship?
Mm-mm. No, because I was trying to run to the corner to retreat. So like these things are just catching up to me, but the missiles are, I mean, not even getting shot at. Holy crap! Oh hell, I can't even retreat out of this thing. I guess I'm gonna take some more damage.
Yeah, that's why I was saying just take
Damn
the
it.
one, too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh well. I think I'm maxed out on tokens too, so this is like absolutely worthless for me. Oh damn. That's fucked. Yeah,
So-
something's messed up with the countermeasures.
So, I mean, at this point, and I know I've already said it a couple times, the 105s aren't really indicative of what the raid target really is going to be like, but now I'm tempted to go throw a couple of phalanxes, at least on one of the ships, to maybe knock down some of the missiles from the ships coming at me, since the sprints aren't even firing at all at them.
Yeah, I mean there is something just weird, like because it was, I don't know. What's a phalanx 4 have? A 9 salvo,
I think it's 9 salvo, yeah.
right? So that's 27 salvos that I have, and it was firing like 2 at a time at all those clusters of missiles coming.
And that's how they were behaving in the raid for me last time.
that's something. There's something wrong there.
So they would take down a few missiles here and there, but they wouldn't take down very many. So I switched to the sprints, and the sprints were taking out a lot more. But now then after the raid, we got the VXP target, and I went in there, and I'm like, these aren't even shooting at the ship missiles. And I was like, actually, I think it was Hefe. It was like, well, are you running a special on there? I said, no, not yet. So, we were thinking maybe it was something to do with that. But now I have the special on there, and it's still not shooting at them from the ships.
Well, I think I asked if it was a projectile speed special.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
But I kind of lump that into specials in general, whether it be projectile speed or range, because both would affect or could possibly affect it,
Mm-hmm.
And I know what you were getting at by saying that, but they do have projectile speed on the ships now, I do believe. So go back and look real quick.
Yeah, it'd be nice at some point if they come out, well, not tomorrow because tomorrow's Saturday, but at some point before the raid, with countermeasures, if this is intended, like they did previously, I think they did it. How long before the second raid did they explain that to us? It was a couple of weeks, right? When they were explaining that, phalanxes work on this and sprints work on that, and they're not, we've changed everything that's in your blueprint.
Yeah.
Something like this going on again, but they've not communicated it to us, and they just expect us to figure it out. Where your blueprints are pretty fictional.
And then you have those people that don't or can't get on the forums that'll just never know.
Yep. That's a distinct possibility, but it's need to, I don't know, either need to stop bending the rules or communicate it when they bend the rules early on. The players don't get really frustrated. I would prefer that they stop bending rules.
I'd like to know what the fucking rules are.
Well, I'm assuming that rules are what's on the blueprints, and that's what I mean with last raid cycle. What was a missile? What wasn't a missile? What was a rocket? This is only for countermeasures, and this is for anti-missile, and it didn't follow the blueprint all the way down. They made up their own rules, and so maybe that's what they're doing again, but they haven't communicated it to us. I'm confused as far as what's going on right now with the countermeasures. People that are go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was wrong. My scattergun build still doesn't have projectile speed. I was thinking one of the specials gave that to me, but that's my missile ship, so I was lying.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I didn't mean to shut it down. You were still speaking.
You should yell louder. Rum did a good job with that. I had to take my headphones off. So my volume was set at the proper volume where I was like, wow. But yeah, it'd be nice if, again, we keep on coming to the same point again and again every week as far as the need for improved communication, as far as what they're doing, especially when they're changing things that aren't apparent in the game. Either through the interfaces with the blueprints or hitting a target or whatnot. If it's not easily apparent, or obviously it's been over a month, we still haven't figured what's going on with the countermeasures and these targets. That they should tell us at some point in time. Otherwise, people are just getting frustrated, putting together bad builds, and just losing customers.
Yeah, I think Ren made a great observation in chat. He bets Kixeye is also confused. I might have to agree with him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it's a possibility they are. It appears that way. So, do we have anything else? Do you think you got enough reaction or input associated with what you were thinking
The
or
PvP.
potential
I
change?
think Cuddle's the only one that actually answered to see, what, like, because I'd like to know, their own position and then what they think the community, how they would react. And we kind of went off on tangent because, it's not really going to fix PvP. It's just fixing the immediate issue so we can look and see what's wrong with PvP. But to fix that first immediate issue, I mean, those are the three options there. And I'd like to know what people think and how they think everyone overall would react. Because right now, the top ends can't hit top ends. The middles are getting killed by everybody. And, I don't know.
I don't think changing the armor helps that.
The armor would end up being like a rolling issue because they'd have to tune everything going forward to that armor. But that's might not be that bad of a deal if they can't fix the multiplicative stack. The other option to that, though, is making the multiplicative stack only 15%, which would come out to around 200-ish% of an additive stack. So it's one of those three. It's just those are the three simplest, which is I think the path that they're going to choose because I would,
That conversion from multiplicative to additive, I find to be the most complicated. Like I said earlier,
that one might be a problem. Yeah, that might have secondary issues. So that's true. But in a perfect world, if they could make it additive stack or reduce the number to 15%, so the end result with 8 would be around 200%, or buff the armor. One of those three. Like I think all three of those are the least intrusive on the player side, at least. But the catch is how would you personally react, and then how would your alliance and the community or sector react? Because I'm looking at the numbers and I'm just like I'm just shaking my head because it's ridiculous.
Personally, I would strip away the whole tier 7 damage bonus, make them all stand alone, and do some limited amount of damage to these tier 7 hulks, and just change that to reload or change that to something else besides damage, because it makes you rely on having all of these turrets. And so they've given us 8 of each, or 8 and 6. We got 24 total. It doesn't sound like a good plan. I don't see how this ends well, personally. I mean, they've gone this far with it.
Yeah, I think you're going back to the underlying PvP issue rather than just the immediate. This stacking issue is broken. So just on the stacking issue itself, because PvP is still fucked afterwards. It's just going to be less fucked.
I would fix the armor because players like a boost as opposed to a nerf. I think that would be, if left with just those A, B, and C, I would choose fix the armor. Because the multiplicative to additive has so many problems associated with it. The other one would be seen as a debuff.
Right, it would look like a nerf.
And then the armor is a buff. So I don't.
So for players, that
but to be honest, I don't like 4, 1, 2, or 3.
No, I understand that. But we have A, B, or C. So you're saying that because this was kind of like my initial gut reaction too, is that if anything happened, any type of nerf, especially for the players that don't watch the shows or don't go to the forums as much, because we do have a lot of players that do that. Of those three options, the nerf would be reacted to the worst because it's a nerf of their shit, and then the buff would be reacted to with the least venom because it's a buff, right?
That's the way I see it. Yeah.
No.
I mean, but
that's what I was.
Again, it's the worst out of the three. It's worst out of the bad lot, in my opinion. But
and then the problem is you have to
hey, Brian.
work on it. Yeah, and the problem is then you have to actually kind of account for it going forward when you try and balance anything else too, which I don't know, man. They've painted themselves into a bad corner.
Hey, Padre. Hey, Spack. How you two doing tonight?
Hello.
I'm good. Hi, guys.
What up?
What's
Did you guys catch any of the show yet?
No, I've been busy. I just got back and I'm on. John
All right,
on to
we
say
got
hello.
two coiners and two PvP hitters. I guess we're gonna have to go through this one more fucking time.
What are we going through?
So we have options.
I'll get a beer. I'll be back.
Yeah, you get a beer. We have options A, B, and C. I still haven't heard from Grimace yet. I saw him trying to talk, but you're going to talk after I give it, so they can think about it. You can answer while they think. We have options A, B, and C. Right? PvP's fucked, and it's even more fucked because the group bonus is fucked on top of PvP being fucked. Right? So in order to look at PvP and see what's broken, we got to fix the turret thing. Right? So if you have 3 options for fixing the turret group stack, you can either go to additive and have it the way it was intended. You can, and if that's even possible, you can reduce the number from 25 to 15%, which would essentially give you the same end result with 8 turrets. Or you can buff the armor. What would be your choice? Why? And then what would you're both in the same alliance, but what would you think other players in your alliance, how would they react to that choice that you would pick?
Go Grimace.
Come on, Grimace.
Personally, I don't think anything they do is going to make anyone happy. There's going to be unhappy people, no matter what they do.
Yeah, that's a given.
And without sitting down and really looking at the numbers, if I had to choose, what was the middle one again?
The numbers would end up working out the same no matter which choice you make. That's the trick to the whole damn thing, because it's more going to end up being perception. What's the easiest path? You're going to either be able to buff the armor, make the stack additive, or fix the stack. It'll stay multiplicative, but fix it so it goes down to about 15% per, which ends up being a total. The total for 8 turrets comes out to 200% ish.
And that one actually makes more sense to me, just like off the cuff, because I really haven't been sitting here thinking about it. I also agree with Hefe thinking that if they try to switch from multiplicative to additive, they're probably going to break all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
So that will probably really be bad.
That's why I put the caveat in there if it's possible.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know if I have any faith in them really fixing it. Because, like, as someone who has all the turrets, I spent my points early on to make sure I got the turrets instead of, say, like the warden holes and stuff, which I still don't have.
Right.
If they make it to where I'm punished because, I got all these turrets and right now I can keep people out, but then they change that and then people are starting to get in, I'm going to be pissed that I spent all my time worried about the turrets and not building my base defense fleet.
Right.
So I think they're in between a rock and a hard place. And like Padre said before, we're not the people who are designing this game. They are. They should know what the hell they're doing. And they're not really instilling any
faith.
Faith. Yeah. They even know what they're doing as game designers and programmers. I mean, it's bad. Like, the more I see it, I'm watching people, especially people, say, even in my alliance, who don't have all this stuff. They're more PvEers. They're just getting hammered, constantly, And all you can do is go back and hit that person's alliance, the lower level people that don't have all the shit.
Right.
That's all you can do.
And that's the whole binary issue that I was saying. And I mean, I like the idea of cutting down to 15% each, because that's the of the 3 choices, the one that has less potential to get fucked up, right? Because if you do the armor, you have to worry about going forward with the armor. If you do the additive stack, you have the potential of fucking everything up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just change that 25% to 15%, how can you really fuck anything else up doing that? I mean, I
don't put it past them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's not impossible, but of the 3 that has the least chance of fucking other things in the spaghetti code, But all right, you two, go for it. What you got?
Well, first, I'd like to preface that I'm a bit of an economist, more of a behavioral economist. And this is what I do.
You're so
Yeah,
full of shit.
And I think, well, okay, so no, I was thinking about it. And I like what you're saying about the 15%. I think that probably, after listening to what you said, I think that may be the easiest route for them to take with the least chance of ruining the game more. The only drawback there is that people were given a product that did X, Y, Z, and now they're taking away from you in some regard. Nobody likes to lose power, lose damage, or get a nerf on their stuff. And I think a lot of people may consider that a nerf. Whereas with the armor, you're giving people more armor. It's like, hey, look, we just made your armor better. There you go. Merry Christmas. But again, moving forward, how is that going to fuck the rest of their plan? That I don't know. So I can't speak to the rest of their plan. But as far as like what I would consider the mentality of the people in the game, every time you make something worse, they feel cheated. So I think that's something to take into account, or at least think about.
That's what we were discussing. Yeah, that's what we were discussing just before you guys got on, was that the players in general, especially the ones that don't watch the shows and don't go on the forums, would look at it and go, "Oh, that's a nerf," and then the other way would be, "Oh, that's a buff." Yeah. So there's pros and cons on each one of these things. That's why I'm asking, because I'm looking at 3 of these and I'm like, I could see any of these 3 paths being followed because it's the easiest. Yeah.
Can I jump in?
Well, I think SPAC was next, but yeah, if you want, I don't know.
Go SPAC.
One of y'all go. Flip a coin.
Go, Ren.
Hello, Ren.
I was just gonna say I don't like, and that's well known, I don't like the tier bonus, period, full stop. I think it makes for each turret on its own being useless. It makes for people who only get 3, 4, 5 of them to be completely defenseless. It makes the game too binary, too strong on like, oh, either you die or you win, and there's absolutely nothing in between. It's like either you don't scratch the attacker's paint, or the attacker doesn't make past the first turn.
Right. And
let me finish. It's quick. I'm about to finish. So I think we keep talking about buffing and nerfing, and I think players like buffs better than nerfs. That's established. So I would either do away or nerf the group bonus to something very tiny, like a 2% per turret extra damage, and then buff the individual numbers on each turret. So a player who only has 2 Howies will still scratch the paint of the attacker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm
like. That would be.
That would be clarify that.
Go ahead.
I wanted to clarify with the tier 7 bonuses that you don't like. It's within this deflection environment where the tier 7 bonuses at this point in time has only been an increase in damage, not some other positive aspect could be added to the turret, right? Such
as I've seen your
reload.
table and I fully agree with it. Would be more diversified. I'm just thinking of quick fixes that they can implement like next week or this week.
Yeah.
And just nerfing the bonus and increasing the damage and bringing things to a balance where the turrets can do damage on their own would be easy to implement.
And that would actually trickle down a little bit better too into the mid levels.
Exactly.
I just don't know that they're going to have the balls to do that, because that's almost like a hard reset.
Well, leading on to mine, having the
go ahead, SPAC.
Sorry, leading on to mine, having the balls to do it. I think at this point somebody has to bite the bullet. I probably agree with you that the 15% is the best option, but that fixes the game here and now for very specific hulls. I'm not sure onslaughts will even be viable, and they're relatively new. I mean, it's still
will. I think to your point, the problem is, regardless, is that it's still going to be base hitting. Still going to be binary. It's not going to fix the issue that PvP has. It's just going to fix. It's going to fix what's in front of us, so we can see what's wrong with PvP.
Right. So they need to do something short term because at the moment PvP's dead. I think we can all agree on that.
Yep.
First off.
Well, yes.
So of the options right now, I would say that the 15% option, cutting turrets down so you can balance the game here and now. But more importantly, looking forwards, they actually need to test everything and put it all together. And again, I know
No.
a broken record. Test everything, put it together, and understand what they're doing in the future with a proper PvP testing environment, and all this shit wouldn't happen. It would be so easy to balance and know exactly what's going on moving forwards. So right now, cool. Do the 15%, do whatever, but fix it short term.
I'm kind of
Have a long-term strategic plan of how PvP is going to work in the future, because it's quite clear they don't have a fucking clue.
and see, and this is one of the things that I was kind of curious about, because I know they have a QA department, right? And
Really?
and the thing is, when the group stack first came out, right, and I had asked, and I had written the stupid article, and I said, I printed it. It was supposed to be additive, right? And then we find out that it's not additive.
You assumed
At that
it was
point,
additive, right?
no, I was told it was additive.
Yeah. By who? Particular?
One
Right.
of the devs.
Right. Engineering and devs are two different people,
But see,
right?
here's the catch. At that point, when we go, hey, you told us this, we found out it's this. Why would no one go back and look and go, what did we mean to fucking do? Because at that point, your customers have it in their fucking hands. And one of them went, hey guys, over here. And
Well, how political
nothing
do
was
you
looked
want
at.
to be? How political do you want to be? Because I know someone there knew exactly what was going on.
Well, that someone is. Ooh. I'm not going to
Let's not go
comment.
there. Yeah. Someone had a plan, and I'm sure the plan would have worked. Can someone talk to them and find out what the plan was and make it work? I mean, it's not hard.
That was a question I was asking George earlier. We still don't have an idea what the vision is for PvP as far as the way they expect it to work.
Yeah.
And in order to even provide, good contributions at this point, like how is this? We assume the death by 1,000 cuts thing, which is
Shitty.
Yeah, it's not a good plan.
I mean, we've said it before. We would like to see a roadmap, and I don't know why they can't come out and just give us an idea. You don't have to give us dates. You don't have to tell us what the fuck is coming out. You don't got to tell us shit except, hey, this is the plan, or this is the path that we're planning to go down for PvP. That way, not only do we have an idea,
broken records, don't we?
yeah, we do. And the thing is, not only do we have an idea, but then if what they put out is absolute shit, they're going to know it real quick from the community.
Well, they should have done.
Yes.
They knew that's exactly what happened with the last hole, right? But anyway, as to fixing it now, did you see Padre's post on the right-hand side? Take away the tier 7 bonus if a turret dies. I don't understand why you can put cannon fodder on the outside.
You want to know why? I'll tell you exactly why they won't do that. Because whatever plan it is, or whatever they're doing with this, they're doing the balancing to the end numbers, right? Instead of the
intermediate
ones, or and the problem is, if you do that, it's going to fuck up everything that they're planning. Because if you do that, you're going to be able to walk into every single base if you have the armor that we have now, and you can splash out a ton of shit to prep,
Well, and this is why the whole deflection-based system is very perverse.
Yep. Because
you tune everything to the final numbers. That means people who are up there at the top can defend, and everyone else in the game is absolute cannon fodder and have no hope in hell of defending against anything.
You're right. Everything is tuned towards the player who has everything that they've offered. And the point is even some of the top players miss a bounty, miss a raid, miss something like that, and you just miss one thing and you're screwed.
Yep.
And they're out of the game. And you have to balance it towards the middle people, as well as keeping the other two happy, if you know what I mean. And they don't seem to be doing that.
And I'm going to sound like a broken record again. I'll just go and say, again, the turrets should have individual merits. So a guy who got one Howie will not kill your fleet but it's going to do about a quarter of the damage versus a player with 4 Howies if both have the right skills to build a base. You know what I mean?
Can't do that within a deflection environment. The numbers don't add up though.
They would add up if each turret did its own damage and there was no bonus. I mean, that means I have 4 Howies, I can kill your ship. I have one, I don't kill it, but I do a quarter of the damage.
But then you have to account for the fire supports and stuff, and we know how well they did that with that last time.
But again,
I'm just saying.
Okay.
They fixed fire supports.
Yeah, that's fixed.
They balanced. They fixed fire supports. They understood that damage wasn't working as displayed on the tooltip. It was multiplicative, not additive. I think at that point, someone should have realized that all damage within the coding environment is multiplicative, not additive. That's why option 1's not going to work. They can't reprogram that part to be additive. It will break everything.
I think the issue too with taking away tier 7 bonuses is then you're taking away the aspect of the short range turrets versus the long range turrets, and everyone's just going to put their tier 7 stuff on their island.
Well, that's all we've got already.
You'd have to pick. You'd have to say, my faction, this is the damage type that I'm going with.
Yeah, but I think that's where they're headed. I mean, that's what the whole idea was.
We're gonna run out of turrets. I mean, we're already kind of at a tipping point where, I hear people say, "Crap, I don't have any more turrets. What am I gonna get rid of?"
Yeah.
Instead of a percentage number, what happens if they went with an actual number, like everyone adds 10,000 damage or something of that nature?
Well, the whole game would be passed through then.
But if you started off doing some amount of damage, but you're adding 10,000 every time you add a hull, add a turret,
would that not make the game more binary?
Yeah. Well, again, it's the fundamental flaw of the deflection system. Everything is binary. It's either you do some decent damage in the tens of thousands, or you do 360.
What about if they bring back and they start to put resistances back in, like what we had back with the old Revenge?
I vote for that. Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Wouldn't that solve most of our problems there?
It'll be traumatic to do the transition again, but absolutely. Yeah,
hard reset. Yeah, hard reset. I think me and Ren were talking about this the other day. A hard reset is probably the best option overall for everybody, but I don't think they have the fucking nuts to do it.
That's a lot of programming and time and money for them. So I don't know if it's about nuts. It may be a financial issue. To implement those changes, I feel like the engineers, devs, and everybody are going to have to do a lot of.
They did it once. I mean, they when they did the big turret reset, where all the turrets gain resistance bypass and yada yada, they did it once. They can do it again.
But I'm sure that one was planned out in advance. Whereas these suggestions that we're making need to be made on the fly, and with good reason. Somebody should be working some overtime right now, because honestly, when you get into this kind of a mess, you need to put the fire out to save your company or your business or whatever it is that you're working on.
I'd love to see their metrics.
I think that with any of these changes, they should re-release more of the tech in the raid. Any of the changes that they make of the 3 options you gave, I think that the middle players need to catch up some. I've got a pretty strong alliance, and I still have people that don't have all the tech, and we sat out last bounty, and so I have people at even more of a deficit. But apart from just what I have, I know other alliances are struggling too, even after doing the bounty. They still have people that are missing items. Honestly, I think they should set a time frame and say, after this time, the items that have already been released, we're going to re-release them again so that people can catch up. It makes no sense for me to fight the same 20 people over and over and over and over again at what people would say is the top of the leaderboards. Why not encourage smaller and middle players to come up there and start fighting on a more competitive level? That's going to give a lot more diversity to the game, and for me personally, I'm going to stick around a lot longer if I have more people to play with.
They've been doing quite the opposite.
I agree 100%, and that's a strategy that needs to change.
And make it cheap. Make it really easy for people to catch up. I mean, that was 3 or 4 raids ago, wasn't it? When we first started getting these turrets that people missed out on. It doesn't mean anything to anyone else. Let them get the turrets cheap. Let them catch up.
Stop
And
bringing
going back to removing the turret bonus, the other positive effect I'd see is that it would make them work for their money again. Because honestly, releasing turrets like the Halo 2 or the Blunderbuss 2 that on their own do absolutely nothing, they just contribute to the bonus of the turrets that really matter.
Blunderbuss
It's just lazy. Yeah, the Blunder 2 on its own, even without full buffs, does nothing. The Halo does nothing. This is lazy. It's, you know, like somebody probably spent 20 minutes changing some numbers from the original Halo, the original Blunderbuss, and it does nothing. And oh, let's release that because yeah, it's going to benefit the other things.
Yeah, I disagree. I have the Blunderbuss in my base in quite an effective area, and if I break your deflections with howitzers, my Blunderbuss is going to ruin you. You have to stop and kill it, or you can't sail past it. It does the same damage. I think they specifically had it as a stopper turret, i.e. a turret that you have to stop and kill before you move past it. And the Blunderbuss works. The Halo does nothing. The Vulture works as well.
The Vulture works, yes.
Yeah. The Blunderbuss does too. The Blunderbuss.
Okay, I gotta look at it again because to me it doesn't.
It does about 3 million damage, and it does it in the multi-shot. Trust me, I've seen it work. It goes, but anyway, yeah. I think they've designed those turrets to do a very specific job, and with the way they balance things, they're not doing that job. Because you have to get 5 fire supports on it and get there. So you can't put the Blunderbuss on its own somewhere else. It has to be on your main island.
The other aspect, and that's more of a long-term aspect of the game, is not a solution to the problem right now. I find it extremely boring that everything in the game related to PvP now is a limited blueprint. Going back to the old times of the game, people could try to do crazy things like having a truckload of javelins or a truckload of victory mortars, right? And try to balance like, oh, my turrets will only be 2 damage types and my guard will do a 3rd or a 4th damage type. And with that, I'll keep people away. And now everything is limited because that allows them to design with upper limits in mind and not account for creative players. And the biggest appeal this game always had to me was that you could think out of the box and strategize and do different things and win. And now everybody's constrained to like these hard limits they place everywhere.
Yeah, it's very generic. I agree with you, Ron.
It's boring. Right? Because every base looks the same. Every base, you know, oh, this guy has, let me count. Oh, yeah, for how? It's like, you know, okay, this guy, oh, 2 Blunderbusses. Okay. Like, you don't walk in a base with, oh, my God, like 10 Epic Cat mortars and 16 Howies. Oh, what should I do now? Right? Before there was this wow factor, the surprise factor, and you try and be creative. And now that's all gone.
I've kind of got a question, and it's sort of for everybody. How much emphasis do you actually think they put on the PvP aspect of the game? For me personally, PvP is why I play this game. Everything else is a chore.
To them or to us? Wait a minute. That's
right.
Interesting.
To me, that's it. PvP is what I live for in the game. That's what keeps me happy. That's what keeps me occupied.
Right. But
I understand people like doing raid targets, but for them, what emphasis do they put on the PvP? Do they actually see the PvP as being the most important aspect of the game?
Players are Kixeye.
Kixeye.
What do you mean? Shit, I don't know. I don't even know if they understand PvP at this point. Because I mean, they're clearly trying to monetize it. Yeah, I mean, clearly they're trying to monetize it, but the way in which they're going about it lends one to believe that they don't even quite understand it themselves.
Yeah, I think they don't understand the aspect that people do, the chores, the PvE aspect, to be able to do PvP. Now, am I the only player that thinks like this? I don't think so, because I play with lots of other players like it. But
let's put it this way:
across the game, is that a wrong assumption that PvP should be the most important thing to fix?
I agree with you. PvP should I think most very active players is the reason we're here. To them, before Bounty, especially before Bounty, I believe they were making most of their money off of raids, TLCs, and VXP Weekend, which is all PvE. So as far as if I'm the bean counter, I would say screw that PvP stuff. We don't make that much money in there. We're making a lot of money here, and that's where the money would be. And
but
the
they
time
don't
and investment.
understand. I mean, my assumption, and maybe it's a false assumption, and maybe that's one to think. In terms of a player, I do all this boring crap so I can do the fun stuff, which is the PvP. Does the majority of the player base think the same way? And if they do, shouldn't Kixeye prioritize PvP more?
So it looks like I'm in the minority here, as I'm a almost pure PvE player, and I barely do PvP. I understand that it's big for lots of players and it brings in lots of money, but in no way is that my focus at all. I don't find it enjoyable at all. I find being able to tactically build my ships and destroy the targets that these game designers put in front of me to be far more interesting for me. Now, I do find a lot of the PvE to be chores, but at this point in time, PvP, it's barely on my radar.
Can I ask you a question?
The bitch spec is there.
Oh, hello?
I mean, if I can jump in, I'm actually a little bit of a mix. I like some aspects of PvE until it gets to the point where I'm repeating it 1,000 times over, or it's grindy as fuck. And I like PvP. I mean, I like both of them. I wish I were better at both of them, but you know, it is what it is. I don't have, I can't coin like I'd like, so you know.
In no way am I attacking what you enjoy in the game. You enjoy PvP? Awesome. I am not that. You want to hear from somebody who does pure PvE? That would be me.
No, I like that you're here. And I want to ask you, is part of the reason that PvP is not on your radar, apart from the fact that there is no PvP, is part of that due to the fact, do you have everything? Do you have all the tech? I mean, you should,
I have everything.
Right?
I have everything.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know coming from that perspective if it was, oh, I'm lacking tech, so it's not fun, or if it's, you know, what's causing the disconnect between that aspect of the game and you know, like for me, why I like PvP is you say you like fighting the targets and breaking them apart that the devs put forth. Basically, you've got hundreds of devs throughout the whole, mini devs, I guess, throughout the whole game building targets for you. And that's all PvP really is just a more varied aspect than the repetitive nature that I find in the developer and TLC and those kinds of targets. So, I mean, I think everybody likes the same thing, deconstructing a target and destroying it. I mean, that's fun. Yay, I win. Just for me, I like a lot of variety just because I have really bad ADD.
I'm the same as Cuddle, actually. I'm in the same boat.
Well, I mean, you guys do this out of empathy or sympathy for the target, right?
There is part of that.
I can't
Yeah.
Cuddle, but I'm, yeah.
But as far as if the PvP part of the game was balanced in a lot of different ways that it's not balanced right now, I'm not even talking about recent stuff, but older stuff as far as like how it impacts players, because some of this stuff is so old in the game when repair times and build times were so much lower. They haven't lowered a lot of those things. And we need to make a wider change. I talked about it, I think the first time we had Padre on, I expressed a lot of my concerns with the larger PvP game before we had the issues that we have at this moment, where it's like, okay, well, now I'm losing 12 hours off of my build times. I'm losing all of this stuff while the attacker is only losing 3 hours of repair time or 2 or 3 hours of repair time on their attacking ball, even if they fail. And that part of the game, I still think it needs to be addressed to a certain degree, because a lot of the stuff that's still in the game is archaic, based on older metrics in the game, older build time, older repair times. And that, I think, needs to be fixed to a certain degree. That's not the first priority. To bring in players that feel empathy for the player that they're hitting, because I do find it much more enjoyable to see a variety of targets to hit. And I think that's should be some direction that you think about, because if everybody's involved with PvP, I think they're going to have better coining base, a better monetary return if they have so many other players involved. Yes.
Can I drop my 2 cents? I think PvP. I mean, the older players will remember that Battle Pirates today it's the opposite of what it was for the first couple of years. The first couple of years, there was absolutely no PvE. The PvE you had was to sink salvages on the map.
Yeah.
And eventually mines. And the only PvE in the game would happen 3 days, 4 days, a month in a raid. And even the raid started after a year of the game being alive. So PvP was a huge party. PvP was nothing more than an excuse for a big party. We pick everyone from our sector, and we all drag our asses to the other sector. And we hit fleets, and we hit bases, and we'd have a ton of fun, right? I mean, when you're in an active zone or in an active group, and you're hitting bases, you're going to get 10 people viewing that hit all the time. Problem is today, well, first of all, they flipped the game upside down, where PvP now drags and consumes as much time of the players as it can. And if you actually try to do all the chores you need, right? Because before, PvP hitting a base would get you everything you needed. You hit a base, you get Zinthune, you get metal, you get energy, you get oil. That's it. And they invented those other 3 stupid resources that you can get from hitting bases to force you on PvE. Right? And now it's like the sectors are so bad, right? I mean, okay, you move on to that one sector where some big alliance is, and that's it, great. But other than that, you may find yourself, and a lot of players who don't travel often find themselves in very, very nearly dead sectors. So I think one thing they should do is collapse Battle Pirates to at most 3 different worlds, or maybe 2. And put some sort of flag on that basis, so we see, oh, that base is dead. And you only go after active bases, because honestly, even like some guys are over level 100, and I hit one and the other, and it's dead, it's dead, it's dead. Oops, it's alive. It's very, very frustrating and disappointing. There's many factors. You don't get the party feels anymore unless you're in one of the 6, 7 big alliances left in the game at this point. You don't get the party mode on, which was always the fun of PvP.
In addition, as a PvE guy, I do all the chores, I do all of that. So even finding a repair queue, if I go out with my Conqueror fleet and I try to hit somebody's base, at the moment I get destroyed. And at that point in time, then that has to occupy a repair queue. I always have something repairing. If I had a Conqueror, the price to get into PvP is very high. You have to build a 42-day Conqueror dock. You have to have a fleet that's able to farm titanium all day long. I have no idea.
Stopped, whatever it was. Okay.
Neat. All right. Well, if that was me, my apologies.
No problem. I was just, it was annoying. Go ahead.
You son of a bitch.
No, I'm not blaming anybody. I had no idea where it was coming from.
I guess if you're good at the PV computer stuff, it's cheaper because you can build a good fleet and do most of the targets for very minimal damage. I don't have the patience for a lot of that, but yeah, PvP is expensive. And PvP is not as much fun if you're not in, an alliance that likes to do it. And I think everybody tends to go to the mindset of the group that they're hanging out with.
Yep, very true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why I made STS 7 because I wanted people just for hitting. Like that's what I enjoyed. So I don't know.
And like Misty said in chat that medals were not a thing that PvP players enjoyed ever. I don't think people enjoy medals. I think they were onto something when they created the whole concept of crews and reputation. If you remember, that was short-lived, but you could get crews if you had reputation. But then they turned reputation that you could earn everywhere into uranium that you had to do PvE to get, and that's when the downfall started, because that's when uranium targets, yeah, we're making money with that, so let's create now base parts and titanium, and I won't be surprised if they create a fourth one soon, and another one that you only can get through PvE. That sucks.
Unobtainium.
Yeah.
That's the next resource coming
If they went back to making all resources available through base hitting, a lot of players would just stop doing PvE, but they don't want that because the PvE fleets are the expensive ones to repair, like 20 hours a fleet to repair.
Yeah, they are ridiculous for bad drivers like me or impatient.
But I do think PvP is important because there is a lot of people that do PvP, and they are a great chunk of the population, which helps keep this game going. And the fact that they aren't happy, some of them are leaving. I like this game. I would like it to continue. I want all these players to stay. So that's primarily how this PvP thing is affecting me.
Well, yeah, it's probably what happened in the raid most recently. Probably related to the fact that they messed up PvP so badly that they needed to gain income in the raid that was lost elsewhere.
Oh, they messed up both, Hefe. They messed up PvP, it's unplayable, but they also messed up PvE. I mean, last raid was a massacre. It was awful. They took away the tokens. They made the targets too hard. They released they killed the idea of CICs being something to give you options and just released one CIC per weapon type. That's it. So that CIC is totally unnecessary. It could just be an aura. They messed up everything. If you stop and think about it.
Also in PvE, there's no we haven't seen a TLC for that Buccaneers or Hydras can be used in. No, PvE is also very messed up at this point in time. I'm not happy with dragons.
Three coins in the VXP target. 3 to 4 coins in the VXP target for the auto hull, fully built, fully ranked, all new stuff, using what I know to be a decent build because someone in here designed it, and it's still 3-4 coins to do the VXP target. They are way overtuned.
So PvE side is also not happy.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is they messed up PvE because they fucked up PvP. They were not getting the income from PvP, so they went and tried to get it from PvE. And that's what we saw in the raids.
I don't think there was a cause and action reaction there. I just think they hit the perfect storm where they messed up both in parallel.
Oh, no. Actually, Ren, if they're down, they tend to tune the next thing along the line, don't they?
No, I know. They even tune mid-raid if they're not making enough money. I know that. I'm just thinking this time they messed up both in parallel. It's just my impression. I may be wrong.
Yeah, well, yeah, but look at the gold offers. Look at 32 offers coming out.
Back to back.
Sorry.
Back to back gold offers. It wasn't just the one gold offer. It was like what? 3?
Yeah, back to back gold offers, 32 offers. I dread to think what's going to happen in the next raid. And if they only offer these new pure fleets, I don't see any reason for a PvPer to do it. And I don't think they realize that.
They will soon enough. Guys, it's 8. I gotta go. It's been fun. Y'all have a good night.
Okay. See you,
But
George.
side note to anyone else that's trying to maybe possibly rank their KDs. Apparently, a lot of people are reporting that the KDs aren't launching their drones. So I found out the
George,
hard way.
I think what's happening there is people are accidentally hitting a button, which will immediately stop the KDs. If you go in, let it launch
down.
yeah, if you hit down, it's going
Yeah,
to stop them from
It's gonna
launching.
stop everything. Yeah, no, I know that. When I went in, I clicked to the side and hit OK for it to start, and nothing launched.
If you click to the side, it'll stop them.
No, with my mouse, I clicked to the left. I didn't click a button. I didn't click a button. I was just trying. You know how you stack to the left sometimes?
Yeah, that should not stop your drones.
No, that shouldn't.
And so I lost the damn thing. It's a day and 11 plus hours. I sent in a ticket because I'm like, look, I really don't care about the damn repair. I just wanted to rank the damn thing because I know I could rank the hell out of it. And I got an expert.
You know what, George?
What?
If you go put 1 coin repair on it, you can rank it fully without any problems.
Will it hit?
Yes, it will hit.
Yeah.
All you got to do is let it launch. I've done that. I've ranked mine that way last time. I accidentally hit a button.
I sent a ticket, and they were like, "Oh, well, the max we can give you is 50 gold." I'm like, that doesn't help.
With that 50 gold, you could rank that 50 times.
It was a Kixeye expert. I think they're limited to 50.
Someone who got over 1,000 gold in a ticket, so I know that's lies.
Yeah, I don't coin that much.
But anyway.
Now, Kev, can you send it in with just that little bit of health and take out the target, or is it going to die each time?
No, I can send it in with 1 coin repair and take it out. Every time you put it in there, you take roughly 7 minutes. So theoretically, you could get 4 to 5 hits with it.
Right.
And I run it in and use it as a shield for all the other boats that I want to rank.
I'll repair it for an hour while I eat, and then I'll do that. Cool. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You
all right. You guys have fun. Enjoy. Thank you very much. And I'll talk to you guys later.
See you later, George.
Night.
Anyway. Well, I've been having a fun little PvP event over here while we're doing this.
Is someone in your fleet?
Base hitting. Or there's no base hitting, so it's just fleet hitting.
I take it Jeff went for another beer.
Yeah, we're at the 2-hour mark, so he usually leaves right when it's time to stop the show.
Down. It's like, oh, hey, we're out of stuff to talk about. And,
we can just call it early. You don't need to talk for another hour.
No, we don't. I'm good.
I guess, is there anything anyone else wants to bring up before he comes back?
Oh, well, I was going to just be nice, and then there was a fight.
Yeah, don't make the next raid too hard.
It's nice chatting with you. I always enjoy hearing different opinions or viewpoints in the game. And, while I may not understand every player, I do like hearing people that have a different stance on what they enjoy in the game. So, I mean, good on Kix for creating an environment where everybody can find a niche that they like when they don't fuck it up. Can I say that? Wait.
On this show, you can.
Okay, good. Is there a show I can't say that on?
TFC.
Oh, is it just the F word or?
It's just the F word, just to keep it PG.
Oh,
You can say screw it up. I say that all the time.
Okay.
Messed up.
Really?
Ruined.
Yeah, TFC's PG.
Okay.
You're not allowed.
I thought you had to be 13 years old to have a Facebook account.
Yeah, but not a YouTube account. I guess I think when you have people swearing, YouTube automatically filters, and a lot of people don't see the links. That you get less reach when they're swearing.
It also has to do with the monetizing.
Yep.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, it's monetized.
Yeah, it's monetized, and that money is used to pay the fees of the website where the builds and the videos and the stuff is kept. So it's literally a zero-sum game.
Yeah,
that's the reason.
All right.
So how about those Braves?
Whoever listening to the radio, can you turn the volume up, or then we can listen it too, or mute it? That's fine too.
It's not me.
We need a DJ for intermissions here. Why don't we have a DJ? All right. I'm gonna go awkwardly backward. All right. It was nice talking with you all. You all have a great evening.
You as
Have
well,
a good
man.
one.
All right.
Have a good
take
one,
care.
Parker. All
Hey,
right.
good night, everyone. Bye.
Take it easy, Ron.
Good night, Ren.
Are you off as well, Ren? Oh my God! Do you know what? We could all escape and just leave Jeff in the room on his own, and then the show would be finished 2 hours early. Wouldn't it? Bang on. Because I don't want to bitch about anything else.
Yeah, I'm out of things.
Okay. Well, I'm done then. I will see you guys later. Take care.
See you, Spec.
You guys back?
Anybody in chat have anything? Everyone
has
is
anybody-
tired as we are.
Well, has anyone tried that new siege cannon that came in the bounty? What do they think of that?
I got it. I haven't tried it.
It does not look good to me. Not a high rate of fire. The damage itself on each individual shot is pretty low. I think a Chaos chain gun will do much better than that. Even against top end stuff.
I mean, historically, ballistic holes haven't done really that great in base hitting.
Yeah, because you have to chew through the walls, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been builds here and there that were like a real niche build where maybe you built it a certain way and it was able to tank or something, but or you had the rush fleets like whenever some of the was it like the berserkers or something like that when they would berserk. Some people were using those types of fleets to rush into a base, but that's been a long time ago, and they had a really short shelf life.
Do we have much else to say?
No, everybody is pretty much done, so we were just waiting on you to come back.
Okay. Well, I guess it would be cool if everybody next up a mic, if people had the idea of how present some sort of. I've done it once. I've done it a couple of times as far as I guess what I'm getting at is it appears that Kixeye appears to be lost, either through a long-term vision or just simple arithmetic as far as progressing the PvP part of the game. I mean, just an idea, as far as like what the next step forward would be. It would be a cool thing for the players to express next show, next Friday night. As far as that would be a good thing to talk about. As far as like what they think is balanced, what they think is fun, things of that nature might be interesting. So if you want to come on the show and you got an idea, we're going to cut you off if it's too crazy, but something that would create a different balance in the game, something that players would find enjoyable. We can run through a couple of those next show. So it might be fun to hear what different people are thinking. So besides that, I guess we'll see y'all on Wednesday when we have maybe another update.
All right. You all have a good night.
All right. We are stopping the broadcast and see y'all people on Wednesday.